Today we will be looking at multifamily housing development in the Bitter Creek Industrial Focus Area. This presentation and the accompanying report serve as a sort of guide or playbook for integration. Taking a look at the contents of this presentation, give a brief introduction into the Bitter Creek Industrial Focus Area, some development context around the area and the town, the zoning and regulations that's current and changes that would be needed, some funding opportunities and strategies, as well as prospective developers to work with, and finally a conclusion. To begin, the Bitter Creek Industrial Focus Area is currently zoned as industrial, and it has a history of intensive use. It's one of the several areas that the town intends to develop for business expansion as well as potential tourism attraction, and it is also the site for potential workforce housing development in the town. First, some development context within the town. We're going to be looking at demographics and housing first. Taking a look at the population change from 2016 to 2021. 2016 is when the Bitter Creek Industrial Focus Area Plan first began drafting. 2021 is when the most recent data is available for us to use. Taking a look at population change between those two times, in 2016 the population was 4,159. In 2021 it increased to 4,419. Based on this change in 2026, we can estimate the population to be somewhere between 4,679 to just about 4,700. It should be noted that this was based on current trends, and the change from 2016 to 2021, even more increase can be expected if the town's pursuing economic development. Taking a look into the age structure of this population, a comparison between the town and the county of Yavapai, you could see that overall both have a sort of contracting population with a majority in the 50 and above age range. In Clarkdale there's a sizable 25 to 34-year-old demographic, sort of young adults, as well as children under 10. It could be assumed that multifamily housing development in the town would likely serve this younger demographic, those that might not be ready to settle down completely yet. And as such, the amenities and housing should likely be accommodated towards this younger demographic. Taking a look at a comparative demographic profile between the town, county, and state, the town had a similar population increase to the county and the state, however it had a much greater housing increase. It had a greater increase in the home values during this time though, and a decrease in rent. It should be noted here the larger margins of error associated with our data for smaller geographies. So for rent, for instance, in the town of Clarkdale, the margins of error were up to 200. So in reality, the median rent of the town might be closer to the county and the state than the estimates suggest. Nevertheless, the town had a lower median household income than the county and the state. However, a greater share of low-income population, this is those that earn less than 80% of the area median income. To continue, the town has a lower housing wage than the county and state. That's the hourly wage needed for your rent to be less than 30% of your income. However, the town had a overall higher share of households that are housing burdened. That's those that are spending more than 30% of their income on rent. The reallocation method, that's the ratio of units that are affordable to low-income households compared to the total number of low-income households, indicate that there's a shortage in affordable housing. As you can see, it's less than 1, while the county and the state seem to have a supply of affordable housing available. Breaking down the housing profile, these two graphs show the housing changes, the shares between 2016 and 2021 for the town, the county, and the state. The graph above is the occupancy and tenure shares. As you can see, the town had an overall greater share of owner-occupied housing. It also had a greater decrease in renter-occupied housing, though, compared to the county and state. And unique compared to the county and the state, they had an increase in the overall vacant share. Breaking that down by housing type, the town had a greater share over the years in single-family housing. However, they had a decrease in multifamily housing, which is also unique compared to the county and the state. Moving on to the economic development context within the town, unfortunately, economic data from the census is only available at the county level. However, in the 2017 Bitter Creek Industrial Focus Area Plan, it was listed several sectors that were the highest in employment within the town. These were manufacturing, education, transportation and warehousing, and information, and all those sectors would be bolded in the following tables. First, taking a look at employment by industry from 2016 to 2020, there was a marginal increase in employment across all sectors. This went over to transportation and warehousing, where they also saw an increase in employment. However, there were decreases in employment in manufacturing, education, and information. Breaking down the salary by industry, this is adjusted for inflation. Overall, there was a marginal increase in annual pay across all sectors. However, breaking it down by the sectors with the most employment in the town, there was kind of an overall stagnation of pay in manufacturing, information, and transportation and warehousing, not too much change. However, there's a pretty sharp decrease in pay in education. For reference, the housing wage I mentioned earlier as a yearly salary would be $33,280 a year. As you can see, on average, those in the education sector are making less than this, and those in transportation or warehousing are making just above that. Overall, though, those in the information and manufacturing sector on average are likely able to afford housing in the town. Taking a look into the specialization by industry, the location quotient is comparing the share of employment in the county compared to the share of employment in the state. As you can see, the county had a specialization in education, with the value being above 1. Meanwhile, there's room for more specialization in the county as far as manufacturing, transportation and warehousing, and information goes. It was also mentioned in that 2017 presentation I mentioned earlier, the large share of small businesses in the county. Looking at these sectors with the most employment in the town, the share of small businesses is pretty comparable. Moving on to the growth. Some areas of growth in the town as far as development goes. There seems to be little change directly south of the industrial focus area. That blue polygon you can see in the satellite imagery was the area kind of preliminarily listed as a site for workforce housing in that 2017 presentation. So yeah, directly south of that, not too much going on over the past 7 years. But there was a good amount of single-family development east of Clarkdale Parkway, and they appear to be under construction as of July 2022, looking in Google Street View. There was also a fair amount of single-family development along Skyline Boulevard, and again, looking at that through Google Street View as of July 2022, most of that construction seems to be complete. Overall, some conclusions we can draw from the development context. There's a potential for population growth for the younger demographic, so housing should likely be accommodated to that. There seems to be a potential overabundance of single-family development. Likely this will fill as the population continues to grow, but right now I think that's making up a large share of that vacant units and those units under construction that we saw. There seems to be an overall need for affordable multifamily rental housing in the town, though, compared to the county and the state. Overall, there appears to be a shortage. A larger share of households seem to be housing burdened, despite the housing wage being lower. And overall, the town should be looking into affordability specifically for current and potential sectors of employment. I think education is a really important one to look at, considering how much of specialization the county overall has in it. Teachers or those working in education seem to be experiencing a decrease in pay, and as such a decrease in employment follows. That can likely be attributed to a lack of affordable housing. So as such, development for multifamily housing should be affordable according to education sector, along with all sectors. There's some other potential sectors for growth with increased development and economic development in the area. I think that manufacturing, transportation, and warehousing and information jobs would see an increase. So, as such, affordability should be catered to those sectors.
For the Bitter Creek development area, the zoning and regulation section. So for zoning, I recommend a movement from currently industrial, I industrial to R3 residential, and also a movement from I industrial to C commercial. The first thing I recommend in this process is a brownfield assessment. Brownfield assessment so that because of the historical use of the area, uh, due to intensive mining and other industrial activity, there's a potential for hazardous substances, pollutants, and contaminants. And so a brownfield assessment is probably necessary. So I recommend that. As far as how to fund that, the EPA has grant money available for assessments. In fact, the first phase of an assessment, a targeted brownfield assessment, is free. And so that initial phase can be done free, but further phases will require funding, likely grants that are offered by the federal government. So there's various grants available: community-wide assessment, up to $500,000, an assessment coalition grant, requests up to $1 million, community-wide assessment grant for states and tribes up to $2 million. And so once that is complete, the movement can begin as far as the residential, multifamily residential uh, opportunities once it's been rezoned, and as well as potential for commercial activity, businesses, and drawing these businesses that fit the culture and appeal of current residents of the town and potential residents of the town. Thank you.
So now that we've begun to wrap our minds around the developmental context and any zoning and regulatory changes that would need to occur for the Bitter Creek industrial focus area, it's time for us to transition to discussing funding opportunities and strategies to incentivize developers and any potential developers for the redevelopment of Bitter Creek. So starting with looking at the Arizona Department of Housing, right? They're, of course, going to be the biggest player in this, but they have a specific focus on funding aid to build stronger communities, and they have a lot of programs that can help to do that. So the Arizona Department of Housing works with partners such as the community housing development organizations and rental development to provide funding sources to eligible nonprofit housing developers for the construction of affordable rental housing. These sources of funds include the low-income housing tax credit, private activity bonds, and 501c3 bonds, and the state housing fund program. Now, again, something that's very important to remember when looking at this is these funds are specifically for nonprofit developers. So if you are using any traditional for-profit developers, they would not qualify for these exact funds. But again, like I mentioned earlier, the Department of Housing has a vested interest in making sure there's rental properties across the state for all of Arizona citizens. And they definitely should be a first point of contact when making these next steps to selecting a developer and beginning the redevelopment of the Bitter Creek Industrial Park. From there's also other ways that we can incentivize developers. One way is looking at regulatory advantages that local and state governments, so you guys as the town council, can make to attract developers to construct multifamily housing. These incentives are typically aimed at promoting affordable housing developments, addressing housing shortages, and encouraging economic development in a community. What we can look at here is incentives like zoning and land incentives. This would be working with a developer to increase the density zoning and being able to provide higher density housing, which in turn gives the developer more money because they're going to build more. It's also looking at how you can speed up any development and review processes on the city's end, on the town's end, when working with those developers. And there's also flexibility that you can have in the regulations around buildings. So whether that be fast tracking design guidelines, fast tracking committee, town hall committees to address town concerns around the housing. Those are all things that, because of your power as the town council, you're able to adjust and address quickly to incentivize developers to come to the area. One tax incentive that is particular interest for developers is the government property lease excise tax, which is the GPLET. So this program is available for designated areas in Arizona to encourage the redevelopment of blighted properties or economically distressed areas. We believe that the Bitter Creek Industrial Park would fall under that category and would qualify for this GPLET program. So the program allows property owners to enter into a lease agreement with a government entity for a specific term. Typically it's 25 to 99 years in exchange for paying an excise tax on the property instead of traditional taxes. The city of Clarkdale could use the GPLET incentive program to attract developers who want to take advantage of the excise tax for the construction of multifamily housing. One thing about the GPLET is there are very specific requirements. So if that is something that Clarkdale is potentially interested in, we definitely would encourage you all to reach out to the Arizona Department of Housing and see how you could get that ball rolling. And now we're going to transition a little bit to what prospective developers are out there, right? How are you going to choose a developer? What are you going to look for in a developer? So in building this section, I really thought about kind of what are those key considerations before you even begin researching developers. What are those key considerations that you want to look at for the successful revitalization of the Bitter Creek Industrial Park? What do you want from a developer, both specific to Clarkdale and kind of just in general, what do you want a developer to have? So, starting off specific to Clarkdale, we want to make sure that the developer has experience in affordable housing. The affordable housing expertise is crucial in ensuring the creation of a diverse and inclusive community at the industrial park, especially providing housing opportunities for residents across various income levels. We want to make sure that this housing is appropriate for the young teachers in the community, as well as the young families, and that there's the developer coming in recognizes that importance and will do everything they can to make sure the units are affordable. The next piece is also really important in consideration with the Bitter Creek focus area, which is know-how around the brownfield assessment. In the zoning and regulation change section, our group talked about the importance of a brownfield assessment to make sure a former industrial area is going to be transitioned healthily into a residential area. So it's very important that the developer you choose has at least some experience and know-how around the brownfield assessment, brownfield redevelopment, and that they can effectively and safely transform the industrial site into a valuable community asset, mitigating any potential environmental concerns. Another one for Clarkdale is a knowledge of local demographics, right? Clarkdale is not New York, it's not Philly, it's not Phoenix, it's not these huge cities where you're able to just plop in a development, a new project, a housing project, and say, okay, great, we're going to price it at $2,000 a month, and people will show up. It's really important that this developer knows what the needs of the community are and how they can help address those needs and continue to bolster and foster a thriving environment in Clarkdale. And then finally, a strong dedication to sustainable development. This really needs to showcase the developer's commitment to environmental responsibility and long-term resilience, ensuring the project benefits both current and future generations of the community. So we want sustainability both in terms of how it's built and in terms of ecological sustainability, especially in consideration with it being a former industrial area. So those are all the key considerations specific to the Bitter Creek focus area. But we also have considerations just kind of in general when you're selecting a developer. You want to make sure that there's financial stability in the developer you choose. A financially stable developer is better equipped to navigate potential challenges and ensure the project's timely completion without compromising on quality or facing significant financial obstacles. Secondly, the developer's reputation and track record are vital. A developer with a history of successful projects, positive community interactions, and satisfied clients is more likely to deliver a high-quality development that meets expectations and enhances the community. There needs to be open communication and transparency. The chosen developer should be committed to maintaining open lines of communication with all stakeholders, including local residents and community leaders. This fosters trust and ensures everyone's concerns and suggestions are addressed during the development process. And finally, adaptability and problem-solving capabilities are key attributes to look for in a developer. No development project is without its challenges, and it's important to have a developer who can adapt to changing circumstances, find creative solutions to problems, and remain focused on the project's objectives and the community's needs. So these are kind of eight key considerations to keep in mind as you move through the process of choosing a developer. I also wanted to present a couple different approaches you can take to development. And with the caveat that these approaches don't have to exist in a silo, they can work together and be cohesive to create a really effective and healthy new housing development. So first, I wanted to discuss modular construction. This is an innovative technique that streamlines the construction process by manufacturing building components off-site and assembling them on-site. Modular construction offers numerous benefits, such as faster construction timelines, improved quality control, and reduced on-site disruption. It also has an environmentally friendly aspect as it minimizes waste and promotes energy-efficient building practices. However, there are some challenges that include limited design flexibility and the need for specialized contractors. Another challenge is modular construction is very new. It is an emerging technology, and because of that, there are developers that enter into the space and they show promise, and then those developers quickly leave the space due to very different reasons, but generally around financial stability. So next, we have private-public partnerships. These are collaborations between government entities and private sector organizations where you pool resources and expertise to finance, develop, and maintain public housing. Or not even public housing, but just a housing program in general. Private-public partnerships offer enhanced financial resources, risk sharing, and greater efficiency and innovation. However, they also come with challenges like complex contract negotiations, potential conflicts of interest, and concerns about transparency and accountability. Of course, I'm sure you all are intimately aware that when there is a marriage between public services and private services, there can become a lot of complexities and a lot of growing pains, especially if that organization, that developer, isn't used to a private-public partnership. There's things that we have to do in the public space that they might not even think about or know about and could potentially lead to some traps and pitfalls around compliance. The third approach is community land trusts. These are nonprofit organizations that acquire, develop, and maintain affordable housing, ensuring long-term affordability and community control. Community land trusts provide lasting affordability, empower local residents, and can act as a steward for additional community assets. However, they face challenges such as the need for ongoing financial and organizational capacity, acquiring suitable land, and securing significant community buy-in. Community land trusts can be really beneficial because it's ensuring that no matter what, for generations, that land is going to stay, the land where the housing is going to stay, one, affordable, and two, that everybody that has a home there has a say in what happens there. But as mentioned, that can also, well, they're great and they have a lot of success when they're done well. When they're not done well, there are many challenges. The way the land is kept cheap is because it's a nonprofit and they find outside funding. And without a longstanding nonprofit with a clear path on how they're going to maintain that funding, that can lead to a community land trust falling apart very quickly. And the last developmental approach is mixed income developments. These are projects that integrate a range of housing options for different income levels, promoting social and economic diversity within communities. Mixed income developments encourage social integration, enhance neighborhood stability, and can leverage market rate units to subsidize affordable housing. However, they also face challenges such as securing financing and subsidies, careful planning and design, and potential resistance from some community members. These four development approaches offer unique advantages and challenges, and a combination of these strategies can lead to a more comprehensive and successful project at the Bitter Creek focus area. So now that you're equipped with that knowledge of those key considerations and the different types of approaches that exist for development, I want to just explore a couple developers of interest. Of course, these are not the only developers out there in any way, shape, or form, but I wanted to present a couple options to help get the ball rolling on that future down the line research. So the first is the Newtown Community Land Trust. Newtown is the oldest community land trust in Arizona. They are based out of Maricopa County, so they haven't worked in Yavapai County, but I think there's a potential that a line of communication could be opened with them, and you could see if just because they haven't been in Yavapai County yet, just because they haven't been in Clarkdale yet, doesn't mean that they won't be. So while Newtown has primarily focused on rehabilitating single family homes and bringing those single family homes into their community land trust program, they do have a specific project called the Tempe Micro Estates. The Tempe Micro Estates are a community-oriented development featuring 13 energy-efficient compact homes designed around a shared common space. They have an emphasis on sustainability. They utilize sustainable materials, solar power, and water conservation techniques to minimize environmental impact. They have a focus on affordability, where they aimed at offering affordable homeownership opportunity to low-income families, fostering economic stability. This Tempe Micro Estates project was a partnership between Newtown, the Newtown Community Land Trust, the City of Tempe, and the County of Maricopa. So they are certainly used to those private-public partnerships. They also have a clear expertise in affordable development with a proven track record of creating unique, environmentally friendly housing solutions that cater to the needs of low-income families. I think the biggest con with Newtown specifically is they have limited experience in the multifamily housing space. Even this Tempe Micro Estates project was single-family townhomes, patio homes that came together for a larger multifamily complex, but they were still individual units that existed in their own right. The next organization of interest is the volumetric building companies. So volumetric building companies, or VBC, is a modular building organization. They are not very old. They've only been around for a couple of years, But that's also the piece about modular construction is most of the companies are young. Where volumetric building companies is unique is they do seem to have some more financial stability. They have offices and projects across the US and across Europe. They've also bought a couple other modular construction companies that went defunct. So they're definitely interesting. They have the potential to cut down on building costs and building timelines. We have the project of interest right now is a project called 4125 Chestnut. They built this modular multifamily housing in Philadelphia, and they designed and prefabricated it within 1 year construction and assembly timeline. So from the time that they started it to the time they ended it, it being up and livable was 1 year, which is a pretty impressive turnaround time. And I think that's the biggest pro of looking into modular construction or volumetric building companies. The biggest con is, again, they are an emerging technology, and it seems that modular construction companies will pop up and have promise and then not be able to complete projects and quickly go away. The next organization is called McCormick, Barron, and Salazar. McCormick, Barron, and Salazar exist in a unique space. They, to my knowledge, are not a nonprofit developer, but they do a lot of things that nonprofit developers would do. So they have a large focus on community involvement and community engagement when a development project starts. They will host town halls. They will gather surveys from people in the community to see what that community wants from the development project. I think the project of interest is Lofts at Dayton Arcade, which was in Dayton, Ohio. It's a 500,000 square foot, 9 building complex in downtown Dayton. They definitely took their time in making it. I don't have an exact timeline, but I know that it took several years to get it from start to finish. And it is a multifamily, multi-use housing program or project. They were able to finance $90 million for the project through 26 different layers of financing, including low-income housing tax credits, clean energy funding, state and historic tax credits, new market tax credits, private debt, and equity. And I think that's the two pros of McCormick, Barron, and Salazar is the experience with community engagement, getting community buy-in before they go and refurbish a building or pop up a new building. They really have a strong focus on community buy-in. And the other piece is a clear history and expertise in navigating complex financing strategies. The other con, though, while they have all of this great community connections and community buy-in, there's also a potential for much higher costs because of that community involvement. The project's going to take longer and need more people to even do that ground piece. Because of that, the project will be exponentially more expensive. And then our final developer of interest is the Alliance Residential Company. This is a traditional developer. They are one of the largest developers of multifamily housing in the country, and they focus on luxury housing. They do have experience in workforce affordable housing, senior housing, and build to rent single family housing, which could potentially be, I think the workforce affordable housing could be of interest to explore with Alliance Residential Company, especially in consideration with the teacher workforce in Clarkdale. But their con is that they primarily have focused on and present themselves as luxury apartments. And so there's that concern that they might not know how to effectively maintain affordable housing and get community buy-in for affordable housing. I do think the pro of Alliance Residential Company is that they are based out of Arizona. Their headquarters are in Scottsdale, and there's a higher likelihood that they'll be willing to accept a project because it's kind of within their own backyard. Our team would like to thank you for joining us for this presentation and for taking the time to learn and hear what we researched and what we put together around the Bitter Creek industrial focus area. We know that our approach is comprehensive and includes an understanding of the developmental context, the necessary zoning and regulation changes, the partnerships that should be fostered with organizations like Arizona Department of Health, and an approach on how to select and find an appropriate developer for this project. We know it's going to be an awesome project, and we thank you so much for your time and hope that you have a great rest of your day.
Okay, I'm Deirdre, and we're really happy to be in this project. I'm PhD student at Arizona State University, and our project related to developing the cases of multifamily integration into industrial areas, with considering the Bitter Creek industrial area of the town of Clarkdale, Arizona. So this project is a collaboration between the Arizona State University and Bitter Creek industrial area, and also we have a partnership with Arizona State University Project Cities. We are 4 students at Arizona State University, and our class related to urban housing issues. And our professor is Dr. Deirdre Pfeiffer. So first, the report of our projects related to the developing the multiple integration into industrial area, with considering the Bitter Creek industrial area, with having insights from drawing different insight of possible design features, challenges, and lessons from different case studies. And our case study, which related to the industrial area like Phoenix, Tempe in Arizona, and Greenville City in South Carolina. So the redevelopment of the bridge in Bitter Creek industrial area will be the best plan for extending the Broadway Road from the northeast and connecting with the cement plant road to the west, and also building a new bridge adjacent to the existing Bitter Creek bridge will be so necessary for the future development. Moreover, considering the vehicular access to the industrial area and Bitter Creek will make the growth of business and other enterprises to cause the economic growth and employment opportunity in the rural community. We have any insights in Phoenix, Tempe, and Greenville City. We have some positive principles and also the opportunity for making and using in Bitter Creek industrial area to have the better effects in the future. A quick view of our scenario in this project will start by the mobility and community connectivity with having a public participation, which will be related to the effect of Bitter Creek industrial area and Clarkdale, and because it will provide a remote location for defense contractor and increasing the access to different area and supply chain, and also it will affect the positive opportunity of the economic matter and businesses in Clarkdale. Moreover, the redevelopment of historical bridge is so important in Bitter Creek industrial area because it will make the best accessibility and best access to different areas and surrounding area, and also it will increase the economic and making the best relationship of the businesses from different parts of the Clarkdale town. Moreover, the economic competitiveness and opportunity with regard to the multi-family in industrial area relates to the right transportation infrastructure to host the numerous business and economic development clusters, and also will generate the well-paying jobs and support the families and households of different sizes and configuration. And also this competitiveness encourage other family households from different area to come to Bitter Creek industrial area because they will have the best jobs in this area, in this industrial area. Moreover, the quality of life is another factor which will be related to the multifamily household living in close each other, and also the broadening the economic base to include the some manufacturing businesses and commercial development with having access to rail access will result in promoting sustainable and vibrant communities, and it will make the best family households in the future of this area. So this is a map of the boundary of Clarkdale town and Bitter Creek industrial area to have the general vision, and we wanted to have some general information related to this town. For example, the Clarkdale town is a rural town with around 4,500 residents. And also the town lies in the Verde region in northeast corner of Yavapai County. And it is the grassy area which benefits ecologically and economically from the Verde River. And also there are some acres of undeveloped commercial and industrial land. And it has great potential for commercial and industrial interest in the future. This is the demographic information of Clarkdale town, and based on the age, household, sex, and the income. So in this chart, we can see that some people, based on the different range of race, ethnicity, population, age, and also the median household income have different information. And in this slide and in this map, we can see the gross population, household, and economic in 2021 in Clarkdale town. And the gross area will be so representative, and it's related to the economic matter and will affect the residential development too. So based on the Clarkdale Sustainable Community and Economic Development Plan in July 2013, this organization is identifying the business retention, expansion, and attraction. So for the first short-term strategy of the goal to create area-specific plans and infrastructure development plans, it's been focused on the Bitter Creek industrial area, And these organizations is defining different principles and solutions for how we can create the best development in the future in Bitter Creek industrial area. So one of the potentials to contribute to the principle of the future to the development is related to economic prosperity of the town. So this is the general plan of future annexation of the Clarkdale town, and two important points are considering. One of them is land use historic industrial area, and another one is heavy industrial. So these 2 points are so important and should be considered for the scenario and plan. We need to be focused on that. This map is related to existing conditions with considering the Bitter Creek industrial area and Clarkdale town together. And this is the actually the existing different locations and different matters. We need to be focused on that and have the vision what is going on in this town. The goals of this project is related to development within the Bitter Creek industrial focus area, but provide a variety of innovative economic expansion opportunities to encourage partnership to be focused on sustainable industrial development and having the best opportunity in the future. This is a map of Bitter Creek area. So you can see that the Bitter Creek area in this map, which is showing by the red mark, there is no any access and accessibility to different areas. So the road and accessibility is the important factor for creating the mobility, connectivity, and relationship with other area and parts of the Clarkdale town. So having a general information in Bitter Creek industrial area, it is so small in Clarkdale, and this area has a rail yard, a railhead, and it's abundant commercial buildings and 3-phase power and sewer infrastructure attracted for redevelopment of the site. So it's rail required. And also the restoration of historic bridge for a pedestrian road and construction of a bridge will no longer be isolated, and it needs to be rehabilitated in the future. Moreover, the commercial and housing development in the former industrial site can be realized and passenger use to provide additional employment opportunities for current and future residents of the town. Actually, this is the information of opportunity, existing information, and everything is going on as well in the future. This is the existing map of different access and accessibility of Broadway extension in Clarkdale town, and having connectivity to different areas, surrounding areas of Clarkdale. So we created a SWOT analysis based on the different information we gather in Bitter Creek industrial area. So the strength point shows that the existing historical bridge as a stream point is so clear and obvious to make the connectivity as well. And opportunities of this table shows that connection from Broadway to Cement Plant Road is one of them. Actually, existing access to the river machines, Bent River machines is another one. Because having the access to the river, increasing the economic matters and increasing the social matters, and also many people and households will be encouraged to transfer their houses to that place because it's related to livability factor to live beside the riverbank. And also existing access through Miller Road, bridge extension over Bitter Creek to connect with the Clarkdale Parkway is another one. But some weaknesses are there in Bitter Creek. For example, the water and wastewater infrastructure require actually the infrastructure elements are also needed to be rehabilitated, and workforce housing and also funding for cab and signage. Access all roads are private, so actually we need to have too many public accessibility for having the flu connection to different parts of the town and area, and also need extension of the Broadway to Phoenix Cement Road, because if we have this accessibility, it will be so affordable economy and access, and it will affect the economic matter and businesses of the future. The threats of the points in our area related to the possible residual contamination from historic smelter operations and existing the foundation infrastructure related to the smelt operation too. The primary roadmap of the Bitter Creek industrial area and Clarkdale town will be started with construction, intersections, and original private road, alternative 1, alternative 3, which is related to the bridge extension of the Bitter Creek, alternative 2, and then second bridge crossing. So you can see in this map, this alternative and different routes have different descriptions and opportunity for creating the future road lines of the Clarkdale town to increase the economic extension. So the historic Bitter Creek Bridge is related to many years ago, like it was constructed in 1917, and it was actually the bridge to provide access to a smelter and railroad, and it was so helpful to meet the needs of community, and actually it was so great, and it's great now to the commercial and housing development, and it will provide the additional employment opportunity for current and future residents. And with rehabilitating this bridge, it provides the alternative to vehicular use and connectivity to train, passenger, and residents of Horseshoe Park to historic downtown Clarkdale, and many local and regional trails and amenities in this area. This is the historic Bitter Creek Bridge map, and you can see that this part of the red color, it's so linked with different areas, and it will be so helpful for continuing the connection and accessibility to different area as well. So what want we as the big impact? So we want to have the big area by using different scenario and insights of different cases. So firstly, the Phoenix in Arizona is one of them. which contributed to multifamily market in this area. And also it causes the diverse community and favorable demographic trends. And downtown Phoenix resulted in significant increase for multifamily market because of increasing the economic matter and businesses. And moreover, Phoenix is the top investment destination for multifamily sales in 2021. Another case is related to the Tempe in Arizona, which is related to the public involvement plan to identify internal and external community members. And also it includes the general plan which guide the formation of more specific plans such as master plan, character area plan, infrastructure related plans with design guidelines, a development plan review for a new multifamily mixed-use development, and also offering Broadway Industrial Hub, Tempe Maker District, to modify the general plan 2040 projected land use and projected density map. The last one is related to Greenville, South Carolina, which is related to the affordable housing strategies completed for the city of Greenville in 2016. The city has been focused on the monitoring the aspect and impact of local affordable housing issues, and the gross population of this city is growing because of new housing development, and significant business investment and job growth, and the less quality placemaking with a broad spectrum of cultural, recreational, and natural amenities. So firstly, the Phoenix is our first case study. So the right map is related to the Phoenix annexation map, which is related to the different classifications year based on the households and also living in different range of years. So Phoenix is the capital and largest city in United States of Arizona, located in the south central part of the state along the Salt River, and it has a population of approximately 1.6 million as of 2019 based on Census Bureau website. And the road accessibility to surrounding the area, especially Clarkdale town, is required option for making the connectivity. So some concept of the Phoenix is related to the becoming a hotspot for both investor and developer for making the multiple market, and also it has the actually most sales of different multiple projects in 2021, and also it would be so helpful for many family household in this area. And the development activity was concentrated in the Sky Harbor and North Tempe submarkets and this area, and some units of the multiple family projects are on the way to be constructed. Rent growth in Phoenix is high, and that's will be one of the problem for living in this town or in this area. Actually, the Phoenix area is currently experiencing a strong multifamily investment activity, and the most important factor to consider multifamily housing is employment growth, construction, rent growth, and vacancy rate. So you can see that these some parts and factors of the Phoenix area are so important to encourage many multifamily households to this area to live together and increasing the multifamily market in this area. Another one is Tempe City. The right map is showing the project plan of the Tempe, and Tempe is located in Maricopa County in south central Arizona, and also it's a southern suburb of Phoenix, and it is known for the active lifestyle and laid-back atmosphere. Moreover, that was many years ago settled in 1872, and it was renamed a different name in 1880, and just as Tempe General Plan has two general plans. Firstly, the general plan of Tempe is related to 2040, and another one is 2050. The 2040 general plan is related to the Broadway Industrial Hub, Tempe Major District Amendment. And in this general plan, we are identifying the older stock single-family homes, multi-family residential, and more than different households of the 380 higher-end hotel rooms in Tempe. So actually the guidelines is related to General Plan 2040 for having the best scenario of design and features for creating the best housing in the future. So the general plan of 2050 is related to the public involvement plan, and it's fostering and maintaining the livable and sustainable urban environment, which is sensitive to issues which has impact on the people's life, work, and everything in Tempe. And in this plan, the focus is on land use and management and affirming Tempe commitment to sustainable and equitable physical development and community development. And this is the timeline of Tempe General Plan, and which include different three different phase. Firstly, repair, the second one's engage, and the last one finalize the plan, which will be finalized in March 2024, the general plan of 2050. So, as I already mentioned, the design guidelines is related to General Plan 2040, and that is related to the Tempe Maker District, and support the continual incorporation of mixed use, new residential uses incorporated to multifamily housing. And some of the content in the guidelines can be applied to many of the innovation hubs, and some it will be unique to the Maker District. So some design guidelines in Tempe will be included in different factors. Firstly, mixed-use ecosystem, complementary residential. There are nearby existing businesses, and also facilitating flexibility through spaces are readily adaptable to new uses over time. Another one, infill and enhance mobility to promote a compact neighborhood which encourages a wide variety of housing types, including a smaller scale design, may provide cost saving to residents. The third one is related to innovation, community, and vibrancy, to promote a strong connection between the Maker District and the surrounding commercial, residential, and institutional land use. The fourth option is the mixed use ecosystem complementary mixed uses to promote the land use, to create a new relationship between other land use, and also serving the greater community and enhances make a district character. The last one is the map of internal assets. I think that it's really important factor for having a best design for multifamily housing in this area. Because it's related to conducting initial pilot projects for labor and adaptive reuse with more sustainable design principles, and providing support to startup incubator spaces and food services by leveraging new multifamily project space. So another city, and the last city is Greenville City. So the Greenville City, you can see, it is another industrial city as mentioned in our case study, and the right map is showing the downtown of Greenville, and it shows the different color range based on the different activities and different using of different buildings in this area. So Greenville is located in northwestern South Carolina, and 20 years ago, the city of Greenville's population was 56,000, with having the 24,000 households. But today the population is almost 71,000, with roughly 30,000 households. So the reason is the city gained around 6 new households every week from 2000 to 22, which is actually related to the safety and economy and social contribution altogether. So with this kind of growth, the demand of housing increases, and the need for public and private service increases, and the wear and tear on cities infrastructure increases too. The challenge is how to accommodate growth in environmentally sustainable way that makes the local economy stronger and preserve the residents' quality of life. So the Greenville City strategy, one of them is affordable housing, with being focused on multifamily acquisition, rehabilitation, to proceeds based on the preserve and produce affordable housing, target location, the best fit a variety of affordable housing topologies, build a diverse toolbox of housing incentives, build community capabilities and capacity through deliberate collaboration and partnering. And another sections and factor of the strategy related to access to transportation, with being focused on public involvement plan and having access to service job neighborhood. It will create additional challenges and cost burden for low-income individuals. And having the household in low income should have access to vehicles. So actually the transportation will solve any the problem of the cost burden for low income individual to get to the different destination, and it make it easier for most low income family and households. So based on this chart, we can see the prevalence of unit types based on affordable housing strategy or factor. So we can see that there is variety in how many units are in each provided in multifamily housing and single family. And actually, the single family unit types actually are most significant rather than multifamily. The last table of the affordable housing is related to the current unit supply. So you can see the single family building permits is actually the less than 10 persons are for 1 to 2 bedroom homes. But in multifamily, the permit number has been relatively low with fewer than 10 issued each year. And also, we can see in 2019, the number is 0 in the multifamily building permits, but in 2019 in single family building permits, it's approximately 1,906. So for solving any issue and making the affordable housing as the most significant strategy and importing some important factors for creating a multifamily household. Some partners with local financial situation and institution to establish a bridge loan financing tool to acquire available multifamily properties. And also they need modest rehabilitation and capital improvements. And the bridge financing terms are favorable and accommodate the lease of economic stabilization of the property within an 18 and 36 months period. So it will be great to replace the bridge loan. It's estimated in this program will preserve an average of 200 multifamily units annually. Actually, this scenario, these factors increases the multifamily units each year, and it will be so encouragement for multifamily houses in the future. So just for having some comparison and data evaluation for comparing the areas, I mean the case studies, I created the tables to compare the multifamily areas data based on different case studies. So based on economic development, social development, and design development, and different parts of area, we can see that the economic development is rate 4, and social development is rate 3, and design development is rate 2 in Phoenix area. And also the Tempe economic development is 3, social development is 3, and design development is 4, because the design guidelines are so powerful in Tempe City to have a plan based on the general plan I already mentioned to create the development housing, multifamily housing in the future based on the design strategy as well. And the Greenville City, the economic development is 3 rate, social development is 4, and the design development is 2, because the most significant factor of the social development in Greenville is much more important than the design development. And these metrics shows the actually most significant contribution of different elements. We need to be focused on that strongly. For example, the economic matter is the center of attention for contributing the different elements to be increased. For example, the affordable multifamily housing is related to most accessibility and economic matter. And actually, the mobility and connectivity as the social contribution needs to have the accessibility and also following the economic matters. And rehabilitating of infrastructure and everything related to the industrial systems needs to have the economic development and economic support, and also design actually for design a strategy and design everything in our area need to have the economic support too. And the household desires needs all of them with considering the economic matters, and actually it will make to have the affordable housing and actually increase the multifamily household in the future with these elements and focus. So in this part, we wanted to be focused on the key insight, importing the key insight we learned from the different cases and contributed to the project. That's the summary of everything we gathered. So the principles, it's started from accessibility. And for importing the key insight to Bitter Creek industrial area, we need to be focused on accessibility, making the connection with other areas as well. And another one is mobility and connectivity, making the business and social relationship. Economic matter relates to increasing the economic growth. Rehabilitation is related to the rehabilitating infrastructure, bridge, roads, and etc. because it's so important to actually strengthen the contribution with different areas to have the best relation for the business, economic situation, and so on. Design, inserting your content, area, and everything for related to the design guidelines. And actually the design sections is related to the area of each person. We need to be so helpful for the future development too. The household is related to the meeting household desires and paving the way for providing the affordable housing for low-income and multifamily too. The recommendation for the Bitter Creek industrial area for integrating the multifamily housing, which will be included and summarized by two sections. First is the economic development, and the second one is related to social and design development. The economic matter, improving the accessibility, infrastructure, and bridge, and also increasing the business and making the affordable housing. And the social design development is related to having the safety about the neighborhood surroundings, and also having access to mixed use units and having familiarity with everyone. And we are very thankful to have this contribution with Arizona State University, and we acknowledge to different departments like Geographical Sciences and Urban Planning Department, and also other area of the Arizona State University to have this project as related to the Bitter Creek industrial area to be improved in the future. And these are the important references of our contribution and our information we already gathered. And thank you so much for your consideration in this matter.